Hi everyone, it's Lauren, and today I'm going to be showing you all of the books that I plan on reading over the next few months. Some people do monthly TBR or to be read lists for themselves. I find monthly to be far too restricting, even though I'm the person restricting myself. So this is my TBR from July through to September, and I'm sorry to say I didn't read all of the books that I planned on reading from my last TBR video. I've set myself a bit of a project, which is to read all of the books that I have on my shelves or books that are part of sets, because I have a horrible habit of buying books and putting them up in my house and then thinking, oh, don't they look pretty, and then never reading them. So I try and pick one book from each grouping, each pile. I organise my books by colour and sort of by topic as well, so you'll see some pictures of what it looks like in my house. I don't have one big bookcase. I obviously haven't read any of these books yet, so my knowledge on the subject matter is going to be a little bit lacking, but I would love to hear from you if you have read any of them and you have any tips for me, any ones that you particularly enjoyed, and you can find more information about all of them in the description box below. There's links and stuff if you want to look at them further. So the first few books, which I meant to read a few months ago and didn't get round to, was The Beast Within by Emile Zola, which was from my Penguin Pocket Classics collection. The Raqqa Diaries, Escape from Islamic State, which is from my Black Spine books, and Why I'm No Longer Talking to the White People About Race by Renier Lodge, which is from my White Spine books. So I'm going to roll these over, I think, because I wanted to read them, and what I did actually was, instead of putting them next to my bed in my TBR pile after I filmed my video, is I put them back on the shelves and then just forgot that I kind of told myself I would read them. The first book I know I will definitely read is Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit by Jeanette Winterson, and that is because this is the July/August read for the Feminist Orchestra Book Club, which I run with Jean at Bookish Thoughts. I have read this book already, and it's a fictionalised account really of Jeanette Winterson growing up gay in a very conservative northern town in England. And I would like to read this again because I read it a few years ago now, and I did really enjoy it. I'm really pleased we picked it for the book club. I hope everyone else enjoys it as well. But I wanted to read it again to make sure it's kind of fresh in my mind and I could get involved in all of the discussions. So if you would like to join the Feminist Orchestra, I will leave a link again in the description box below. You can follow us on Twitter, you can join our Goodreads group, come and get involved. Then we have a book which isn't on my shelves and isn't part of any particular set, but I really wanted to read it a few months ago and I still haven't got to it, and I really must, at least this year. Giving myself a big long deadline there, but I really want to read it, and that is When I Hit You by Mina Kandasamy. This was shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction back in May or June or whenever it was, and I have heard nothing but good things about it. It's about domestic violence, and the author experienced that herself, so I don't know whether this is a fictionalised version of her own story or if she's just using her experience to kind of create a completely different narrative. I guess I'll find out when I read it, but it sounds absolutely fascinating. Now for the tour around the various bookshelves of my house. So from my turquoise collection, very specific, we have Brighton Rock by Graham Greene. I know this is about gangsters in Brighton, and that it's famous and classic and that I should read it, but I also really like this version because it's from a second-hand bookshop, and it's one of those old Penguin classics. I really like the colour of the spine. I recently reorganised my shelves, and on one of them I put up a very small collection of dark spined, kind of navy spined books, and of that group there was only one book that I hadn't read yet, but it is something I'm very excited to read, or at least I have been saying this for nigh on 3 years or however long it's been out, and that is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. God, what a mouthful. I've been trying to read a little bit more of sci-fi and fantasy books because it's not a genre I'm super familiar with, and this one has been praised all over the place. I believe it's the beginning of a trilogy as well, so if I enjoy it, there's some more for me to get into, but I don't know very much about the plot. This is just word of mouth recommendation for me. I have an absolutely beautiful collection of Virginia Woolf, which was sent to me by Vintage a while ago, and I have read most of those books, but I realised I kind of went on an acceleration to read all of them very quickly, and then I stopped. So there's a couple that I haven't got to yet, and the first of those is To the Lighthouse, and I just picked this up because it's smaller than the ears, and I just thought, okay, well, I'll read all the short ones first. But I did enjoy reading quite a lot of Woolf all in a short space of time, because her style can be quite erratic. Some of her books are very accessible and some of them are very abstract. I do believe this is one of the more accessible stories. So it'll be great to have read all of them and then be able to recommend to other people where they should start with her writing. Then from my feminism/gender studies shelf, I have picked Delusions of Gender by Cordelia Fine. I also wanted to choose some non-fiction in the mix as well, keep it a little bit interesting. I mean, I don't know what this is about other than it is about gender, obviously. And I know that Cordelia Fine is very highly regarded in this field. I believe her newest book, her latest book, Testosterone Rex, won a prize. But I've not read any of her other work myself yet, so I feel like this one would be a good place to start. Then a double-hander, we have the Persephone books and the Yellow books sitting side by side. So from Persephone, I've picked Marianna by Monica Dickens. The Persephone range in general can be a little bit tricky because, you know, what they're doing is bringing some sort of lost female authors back to the fore, or people who've been out of print for a long while. So that kind of means that the writing can be hit and miss. I have heard some really good things about Monica Dickens and Dorothy Whipple, kind of specifically. There's a few authors that seem to be really popular and really highly praised from their range, and I've not read either of them yet. So I am really looking forward to reading this because for me, I feel like Monica Dickens is a bit of a benchmark for the authors that Persephone publish. That might be a little bit unfair to say, especially as I've not read her yet, but I'm interested to see kind of, I guess, what all the hype's about. And from the Yellows, I have picked Die My Love by Marianna Harwitz. This was translated from Spanish, and this is a very interesting press, which I just saw in Foyles in London one day. There was this and another book. It's Charco Press, and they exclusively translate, I believe it's not Spanish, I believe it's South American literature they do. I should have looked that up before starting to film about it, shouldn't I? Apologies. But it does sound very interesting on the back. It says, in a forgotten patch of French countryside, a woman is battling her demons, embracing exclusion yet wanting to belong, craving freedom whilst feeling trapped, yearning for family life but wanting to burn the entire house down. And Marianna Harwitz is compared to Sylvia Plath and Clarice Lispector. So it sounded like it ticked a lot of boxes for me. So that's 11 books. I've just counted them over 3 months, but we're already halfway through July, aren't we? And I'm not reading any of these. I'm reading like 2 different books at the moment. So that's a little bit keen. That's like 5 or 6 books across like a month, if you think about August and September. Oh, I don't know. I don't know whether I'll get to read any of them because I'm going on holiday. We're going to the Lake District end of July and beginning of August. And then, you know, it's the countdown to the wedding in September. So we're busy, like loads of weekends. So I might not read any of these, but who cares? I'd love to hear from you if you've read any of these books already and what you thought of them. Or did you find any of them particularly interested? Do you want to read some of them? If you'd like to follow along with my reading, you can follow me on Goodreads and Twitter, links in the description box. And you can see when I'm picking a certain book up and you can read it as well if you like. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!